My people, welcome to this storytelling channel, where every tale carries a lesson and every voice finds a home. Before we begin today's story, please take a moment to subscribe and tap the notification bell, so you'll never miss the next tale that travels from heart to heart. And as you listen, tell me in the comments, what country are you watching from, and what time is it there? I love knowing how far our stories have journeyed across the world. Now, sit back, relax, and let the story begin. The sun was slowly setting behind the palm trees of Odiyu village, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. Birds sang their final songs before nightfall, and children chased one another down the dusty path, their laughter echoing through the air. Sam, a tall, gentle young man in his early 30s, walked back from the farm, his hoe resting on his shoulder. He wiped the sweat from his brow and smiled as he saw the women at the stream gossiping. Among them was Lena, the new girl who had moved into the village only a few months ago. Her beauty had captured everyone's attention, the kind that made men pause and women whisper. Sam had loved her quietly for weeks, admiring her grace and humility. But beneath her calm smile, there was something in her eyes he couldn't understand, something deep, unreadable, almost haunting. When Sam finally approached her, he greeted softly, "Good evening, Lena." She looked up from her water pot and smiled. Her smile was bright but strange, like someone trying to hide a secret behind her teeth. "Good evening, Sam," she replied, her voice as smooth as honey. Their eyes met for a second, and Sam felt his heart race. There was something powerful about her presence, something that drew him closer despite the unease he felt inside. As she turned to leave, her wrapper brushed lightly against his leg, and a faint chill ran through him. He watched her walk away slowly, the orange glow of the setting sun tracing her every step. That night, as Sam sat outside his small mud house, Tommy joined him with a bowl of roasted corn. "My brother," Tommy teased, "you've been staring at that girl like you owe her your life." Sam laughed, but the truth was heavy on his chest. "There's something about Lena I can't explain," he said softly. "She's beautiful, yes, but sometimes her eyes, they don't look human." Tommy chuckled loudly. "You read too many village stories. Maybe you're just falling too deep." Sam smiled but said nothing. Deep down, his friend's words couldn't calm the strange feeling that had taken root in his heart. The following week, Sam began visiting Lena's home more often. He helped her fetch water, carried her mother's firewood, and fixed their broken fence. The villagers watched with smiles, whispering that a wedding might soon come. Lena seemed gentle, always quiet and polite. Yet there were moments when her mood would change suddenly, her voice dropping low, her eyes darting away. Once, when Sam mentioned his dream of raising children, she froze for a heartbeat, then forced a smile. "Dreams are not always what they seem," she said softly. Her words lingered in Sam's mind like a riddle he couldn't solve. One evening, Sam decided he would confess his love. He went to Lena's hut with a small gift, a handmade necklace carved from cowries. The moonlight shimmered on her skin as she stood outside waiting. "Lena," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I don't know what you hide in your heart, but I know what's in mine. I want you to be my wife." She looked at him for a long moment, then smiled, a smile that seemed both tender and dangerous. "If you marry me, Sam," she whispered, "you must never fear me." Sam blinked, unsure what she meant. But her eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight before she looked away, and for a moment, he thought he saw a strange shadow move across her neck. The morning after Sam's confession, the village was alive with the sound of women pounding yam and men preparing for market day. Sam walked with a renewed spring in his step, his mind filled with thoughts of Lena. Her mysterious words, "You must never fear me," echoed in his head, but he pushed them aside, convincing himself it was just a figure of speech. When he saw her again at the stream, she looked radiant, the morning sun glinting off the beads around her neck. "I told my mother about you," Sam said shyly. Lena smiled faintly, her eyes soft but distant. "And what did she say?" she asked. "She said I have good taste," Sam replied, grinning. For the first time, Lena laughed, soft, musical, but oddly hollow, like wind passing through a calabash. Still, it was enough to make Sam's heart swell with hope. In the days that followed, their bond grew deeper. They spent evenings walking by the riverside, their fingers brushing shyly, their laughter mingling with the croak of frogs. Lena told him little about her past. She said her family had moved from a faraway village after a tragedy she never spoke of. Sam didn't press. All he knew was that when she was near, he felt peace, even when a strange chill sometimes crept through him. Mama Joy often watched them from her veranda, nodding thoughtfully. One evening she said to Sam, "That girl has a quiet spirit, my son. But remember, water that looks calm may hide deep things." Sam only smiled. "Mama, I love her. That's all I need to know." Word of their relationship spread quickly across ODU village. The market women teased Lena as she walked by, and the young men sighed in defeat. "Sam has won her heart," they said. Tommy, however, remained skeptical. "My brother," he warned one night, "I know love can blind a man, but that girl, sometimes she looks at people like she's seeing something else. Something beyond us." Sam frowned but laughed it off. "You just don't know her like I do." Tommy shrugged. "Maybe. But be careful. Even a snake wears beautiful colors." Those words stuck in Sam's mind, but he refused to believe anything bad about Lena. She was kind, gentle, and caring, or so he thought. As the moon began to wane, Sam decided to make their love official. He gathered his savings and visited Lena's mother's hut. "Mama," he said respectfully, "I wish to marry your daughter." The old woman, thin and frail, gave a knowing smile. "You are brave, my son," she said. "Lena is special. If she accepts you, then you are chosen." Her words made little sense, but Sam took them as a blessing. When he later told Lena, she looked at him with a mixture of sadness and affection. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. "Once you marry me, your life will never be the same." Sam reached for her hand. "That's what I want," he said firmly. "To be with you, no matter what comes." She looked up at the sky, and for a moment, her pupils seemed to shimmer like scales in the light of the setting sun. The wedding preparations began soon after. The entire village buzzed with excitement. Women fetched firewood, men brewed palm wine, and children practiced their dance steps. Mama Joy blessed Sam and prayed for his happiness, though her heart carried a silent worry. "Every bride has a story," she murmured to herself, "but may this one not be written in tears." On the eve of the wedding, as Sam sat by his doorway under the moon, he saw Lena standing by the river alone, her reflection rippling in the dark water. "Lena," he called softly. She turned, her face glowing faintly under the moonlight. "Go home, Sam," she said, her voice distant. "Tomorrow, everything changes." He smiled, thinking she meant marriage, but deep within him, a whisper of unease stirred, one he didn't yet understand. The day of the wedding arrived, and ODU village was alive with music and color. Drummers beat their talking drums, their rhythms echoing through the hills, while women danced with joy, their wrappers swirling like bright flames. Sam stood proudly in his white native attire, his face glowing with happiness and nervous excitement. He looked toward the path that led to Lena's compound, waiting for her arrival. When she finally appeared, the crowd gasped softly. She was breathtaking, her skin glowed like the morning sun, her beaded necklace shimmered, and her eyes, though calm, carried a strange light that no one could describe. Sam's heart pounded as she approached him, her movements graceful yet almost too smooth, like water gliding over stone. Mama Joy watched quietly from the front row, her hands clutched together. She could not shake the feeling that something unseen walked beside the bride. The ceremony began with blessings and songs. The elders spoke of love, unity, and faithfulness. Sam listened, but his eyes never left Lena's face. She smiled at him, and for a moment, all his doubts melted away. As tradition demanded, they shared a calabash of palm wine, sealing their union before the ancestors. When Lena lifted the calabash to her lips, a faint hiss slipped from somewhere. so soft that only Mama Joy seemed to hear it. Her eyes darted around, but everyone else clapped and cheered, unaware. Lena handed the calabash to Sam, who drank eagerly, then kissed her hand. "You are my forever," he whispered. She smiled again, her voice low. "Forever is a long time, Sam." The words were sweet yet haunting, lingering in the air like smoke. After the ceremony, the feast began. Drummers played, and villagers danced deep into the night. The moon hung bright above, watching silently as laughter and joy filled the air. Tommy sat beside Sam, grinning. "You did it, my brother. The gods have blessed you with beauty itself." Sam laughed, clapping his friend on the back. "Yes, Tommy. My heart is full." Across the courtyard, Lena sat quietly, her eyes fixed on the fire. She barely ate, only smiling when people approached her. A child accidentally dropped a piece of yam near her feet, and as she bent to pick it up, her hands moved with a swiftness that startled the boy. He blinked, unsure what he had seen. Lena handed him the food and smiled gently. "Be careful, little one." The boy nodded quickly, running off. Mama Joy's gaze followed the exchange, unease deepening in her heart. When the drums finally went silent and the guests departed, Sam led Lena into their small hut, newly decorated with palm fronds and flowers. The scent of burning herbs filled the air, meant to bless their first night as husband and wife. Sam took her hands, his voice soft with affection. "At last, you are mine, Lena." She smiled faintly. "Yours," she repeated. But her tone carried a weight he couldn't explain. She turned her face toward the moonlight filtering through the thatched roof. "Do you love me no matter what I am?" she asked. Sam frowned slightly but nodded. "Of course. I love you with all my heart." She touched his cheek, her skin strangely cool. "Then hold on to that love, even if the night turns dark." Outside, the wind began to stir, rustling the trees like whispers from unseen mouths. Inside the hut, the candle flickered. Sam leaned closer to kiss her, his heart pounding, but then, suddenly, she pulled away. Her breathing changed, shallow and trembling. "Lena?" he asked softly. She turned her back to him, her shoulders shaking. "Don't look at me," she whispered. "Not yet." But curiosity overpowered him. He reached out and gently turned her around, and froze. Her eyes had changed. They gleamed like molten gold, her pupils thin and long like a serpent's. For a brief moment, scales rippled down her arm before fading again. Sam stumbled back, unable to breathe. Lena covered her face and cried softly. "I told you not to fear me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But now, it's too late." Sam stood frozen, his eyes wide in disbelief. The air inside the hut felt heavy, the silence thick as smoke. Lena turned away, covering her face with trembling hands. "Please," she whispered, "don't look at me like that." But Sam couldn't speak, his voice was lost between fear and confusion. "Lena, what are you?" he finally managed to say, his voice barely audible. She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I am still the woman you married. The one who loves you. But there are things about me that are not like others." Sam's heart pounded so hard he thought it might break his ribs. He wanted to run, yet his feet wouldn't move. Her voice cracked as she continued, "I never wanted to hurt you, Sam. I thought love could make me forget what I am." The candle flickered again, casting long, shifting shadows across the mud walls as if the hut itself was listening to her confession. Outside, the wind howled, slamming the wooden shutters open. Sam's mind raced back to every strange moment, the chill he felt when she touched him, her glowing eyes under the moon, her mother's cryptic words. "You deceived me," he shouted suddenly, his fear turning to anger. Lena flinched as though struck. "No, Sam," she pleaded, "I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid. If you knew, you would have run away." Sam backed toward the door, shaking his head. "What are you? A spirit?" A witch? She dropped to her knees, her tears hitting the floor. Neither, she said softly. I was cursed before I was born. My mother angered the river goddess, and I was born with her mark. I can live as a woman, but at night, when the moon is full, her voice broke before she could finish. Sam didn't wait to hear more. He pushed the door open and ran into the night, his breath coming in gasps. The village was silent except for the sound of crickets. Sam ran until his legs gave way, collapsing near the riverbank. The moon shimmered above the dark water, and for a moment, he saw his reflection, eyes wide with terror, heart heavy with betrayal. He thought of all the dreams he had built around Lena, the children they would have, the home they would share, the laughter that would fill their nights. Now, all of it felt like smoke slipping through his fingers. Why me? He whispered to the wind. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. It was Mama Joy, her wrapper tied tightly around her chest. I knew something was wrong, she said quietly. Sam looked up at her, eyes filled with tears. She's not human, Mama. She's cursed. Mama Joy sighed deeply, sitting beside him. My son, sometimes love is the heaviest curse of all. But running away will not free you. You must face what you started. Back in the hut, Lena sat on the floor, her head buried in her knees. Her sobs filled the quiet night. She remembered the night her mother told her the truth, that she was a child of both land and spirit, doomed to live between two worlds. She had tried to live as a human, to love and be loved, hoping that maybe marriage could break the curse. But now, as she sat alone in the darkness, she felt the change coming. Her eyes glowed faintly again, and the skin on her arms shimmered with scales before fading. She bit her lip to keep from crying out. The gods are cruel, she whispered to herself. They give love to those who can never keep it. By morning, the news had begun to spread. Tommy came running to Sam's house, panting. Sam! People are talking. They say Lena disappeared last night. Sam's eyes widened in shock. Disappeared? Tommy nodded. Her hut was empty. The door was open. Her mother is gone too. Panic and guilt twisted in Sam's chest. Without a word, he grabbed his sandals and rushed toward the river. Mama Joy followed, muttering prayers under her breath. When they reached the water's edge, the villagers were gathered, pointing at something floating near the shore, a necklace made of cowries, glimmering in the sun. Sam picked it up slowly, recognizing it immediately. It was the one he had given Lena. As he stared at it, a tear slid down his cheek. He didn't know whether to pray for her safety or beg forgiveness for his fear. For 3 days, the village of Oromie was filled with whispers. Women talked in hushed tones at the stream, and children stared at Sam whenever he walked past. That's the man who married the snake woman, they murmured. Sam felt like the ground beneath him had turned to fire. He stopped going to the farm, stopped eating, and barely spoke to anyone. Every night, he dreamt of Lena's face, crying, calling his name, vanishing into the river mist. On the 3rd night, he couldn't take it anymore. He went to the river again, kneeling on the muddy bank. Lena, he called softly, his voice trembling. If you can hear me, please come back. I was a fool. His words disappeared into the wind. But just as he turned to leave, he heard something, soft singing, like a woman's voice carried by the water. His heart stopped. He followed the sound, stepping carefully between reeds until he reached the old fig tree by the river's bend. The singing grew louder, sad but beautiful, filling the night air like a haunting lullaby. Then he saw her. Lena stood on the rocks, glowing faintly in the moonlight, her hair wet and long, her wrapper clinging to her skin. Sam froze. She looked both human and not, her beauty almost unreal. Lena, he whispered. She turned slowly, her eyes shimmering like water. You came, she said softly. Sam wanted to rush to her, to hold her, but something stopped him. Why are you here? He asked. You disappeared. She smiled sadly. I belong to this river now. It is where I was born, and where I must return. Sam shook his head, tears filling his eyes. No, Lena. You belong with me. Lena stepped closer, her feet barely making a sound on the wet stones. You still don't understand, she said. I was never meant to be only human. The goddess marked me so that no man could ever truly have me. Her voice broke. I thought love could change that, but the river calls me back every full moon. Sam fell to his knees, his chest tight with pain. Then I'll wait for you, he said. If you can't live here, I'll come to you. I'll wait by the river every night if I must. Lena smiled through her tears. You would do that, for me? Sam nodded. I love you, curse or not. For a moment, their eyes locked, and the world seemed still. Then Lena stepped forward, touched his face gently, and whispered, Love me, but don't follow me into the water. Just as she turned to leave, a blinding light shot from the river, and a figure rose from the waves, a tall woman, her skin shimmering like gold, her hair floating like mist. Sam fell back in awe. The river goddess, Lena said softly, bowing her head. The goddess's voice was calm but powerful. You broke the law of the waters, she said. You tried to live as a mortal and love as one. Lena trembled. Please, mother, forgive me. I only wanted to be free. The goddess's eyes softened for a moment before turning to Sam. And you, mortal man, your love is brave but foolish. When humans touch what belongs to the gods, they must pay the price. Sam swallowed hard. Take me instead, he said quickly. The goddess studied him, then raised her hand. The river does not bargain, but it remembers love. A soft glow surrounded Lena, and her body began to fade like mist in sunlight. She looked at Sam one last time. Don't cry, she said. You gave me what I never had, love without fear. Sam reached out, but his hands grasped only air. She was gone. The river grew quiet again, the moonlight dancing gently on its surface. Sam fell to his knees, clutching the cowrie necklace tightly. Behind him, Mama Joy and a few villagers had followed his trail. They stood at a distance, watching silently. Mama Joy's eyes filled with tears. The gods have taken her, she whispered. But love leaves its shadow. Sam didn't move. The night breeze carried the faint echo of Lena's song, soft, sad, and eternal. The days after Lena vanished were filled with silence. Sam barely spoke to anyone, not even Mama Joy. He spent hours by the river, sitting under the old fig tree where he last saw her. Sometimes he thought he heard her voice in the rustle of the leaves or saw her reflection in the water. But each time he blinked, it was gone. The villagers began to avoid him. They whispered that he was cursed, that loving the snake woman had tied his soul to the river. Sam didn't care. He stopped going to the market, stopped farming. His eyes were always distant, as if part of him had gone missing. Then one morning, when the mist was thick on the water, he found something strange by the riverbank, a small basket woven with palm leaves, inside it a single white egg glowing softly. He stared at it for a long time. The egg was warm to the touch, and when he held it close, he felt calm for the first time in days. Lena, he whispered. He didn't know why, but something inside him told him this was a gift, a sign. He took the basket home and placed it beside his mat. That night, he dreamt of her again. In his dream, Lena stood in a garden of lilies, smiling. Take care of it, she said. It is part of me. When he woke up, his heart was pounding, and the egg was still there, glowing faintly in the dark. He decided to keep it secret from everyone, not even telling Mama Joy. It felt sacred, fragile, something only he could protect. Days turned into weeks, and the egg remained unchanged, yet the aura around Sam began to shift. His crops started growing again, greener and healthier than before. Rain fell softly over his farm when no other field received a drop. People who had avoided him before now came seeking his help. Sam, your land is blessed, they said. Teach us your secret." But he only smiled faintly and said, "Maybe the river has forgiven me." Deep inside, he felt Lena's spirit was near, guiding him. One evening, as he was returning from the farm, he noticed the egg glowing brighter. When he touched it, he heard a faint heartbeat. His hands trembled. Something was alive inside. The following night, Sam woke up to a soft cracking sound. The egg split open, and a faint mist filled the room. From the shell crawled a tiny snake, pure white with golden eyes, the same color as Lena's. Sam froze, staring in disbelief. The snake slithered toward him and coiled gently around his wrist, looking up at him as if it recognized him. Tears filled his eyes. "Lena," he whispered again. The snake flicked its tongue, and in that moment, Sam felt peace wash over him. He knew it wasn't a curse, it was her blessing. From that day, the small snake followed him everywhere. It would curl up near his feet when he prayed, or rest on his shoulder when he worked. The villagers were terrified at first, but when they saw that no harm came to him, they began to call it the river's child. Over time, Sam's farm became the most fertile in the region. His kindness returned, and he began helping others again. Mama Joy would smile and say, "Your love was not wasted, my son." Sometimes, the gods take and still give back in another form. But at night, when the moon was full, Sam would walk to the riverbank with the little white snake resting on his arm. He would sit quietly, listening to the water, and the air would fill with a familiar song, a woman's voice, soft and loving. And every time he heard it, his heart would ache, but he would smile. "I'll keep your gift, Lena," he'd whisper. "Until the river calls me too." As months passed, the little white snake became a legend in Oromie. Some villagers said it was the spirit of the river watching over Sam, others whispered that it was a bad omen. But one thing was clear, everything around Sam flourished. His yam fields yielded double what others produced, his goats gave birth to twins, and even his drinking water seemed sweeter. People from nearby villages came to see for themselves. Some brought gifts, hoping to receive blessings, while others came out of curiosity or fear. Sam never asked for anything in return. He simply smiled and said, "The river gives to those who respect it." But his peace was short-lived. One day, the village chief, an old man named Chief Duro, sent for him. "People are saying strange things about you, Sam," he said sternly. "They say you speak to spirits and keep a snake in your house." Sam bowed his head respectfully. "It's not a spirit, sir. It's a sign of love and forgiveness." The chief frowned deeply. "Be careful. Love can bless, but it can also destroy." That night, Sam sat by the river with the snake coiled around his wrist. The moonlight shimmered on the water, casting silver ripples that seemed alive. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" he asked softly. The snake lifted its tiny head and blinked as if answering him. Suddenly, he heard rustling behind him. He turned quickly and saw Tommy emerging from the bushes, his eyes wide with fear. "Sam! What are you doing?" Tommy whispered. "You're still talking to that thing?" Sam sighed. "It's not a thing, Tommy. It's Lena." Tommy shook his head, backing away slowly. "No, my friend. You need help. People say you've lost your mind." Sam stood, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe I have, but this is all I have left of her." Tommy looked at him sadly. "I'll pray for you, Sam." And with that, he left. Sam turned back to the river and whispered, "They'll never understand what love really means." The next morning, chaos erupted. The chief's youngest son had fallen ill, his body hot, his skin pale, and strange marks appearing across his chest like snake scales. The villagers panicked. "It's the curse," they cried. "Sam has brought the snake's wrath upon us." By afternoon, a crowd gathered outside Sam's compound, shouting and throwing stones. "Give us the snake," someone yelled. Mama Joy came running, her voice trembling. "Please, stop this madness." But the crowd ignored her. Sam stepped outside, holding the small white snake gently in his hand. "This creature has harmed no one," he said. "It brings only peace." A man from the crowd shouted, "Then why is the chief's son dying?" Sam hesitated, unsure how to answer. Just then, the snake lifted its head and hissed softly, the sound almost like a whisper. Sam looked down and nodded slowly. "Maybe the river wants to show you the truth." Ignoring the angry shouts, Sam walked through the crowd and headed toward the chief's hut. Mama Joy followed closely behind, praying under her breath. When they arrived, the chief's son lay motionless, sweat covering his body. The villagers watched as Sam knelt beside him, placing the snake gently on the boy's chest. The crowd gasped. "He's killing him," someone shouted, but before anyone could act, the snake began to glow softly. The light spread over the boy's body, and slowly, the strange marks faded. His breathing steadied, and his eyes fluttered open. "Papa," the boy whispered weakly. The chief fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. "What have I witnessed?" he murmured. Sam stood, his voice calm. "The river doesn't curse, Chief. It only returns what is given." The chief nodded slowly, humbled. "Then you are truly blessed, Sam." The villagers fell silent, their anger replaced with awe. That night, for the first time in months, Sam felt peace return to his heart. He sat outside his hut, the snake resting quietly around his arm. Mama Joy joined him, smiling softly. "The same people who cursed you now praise you," she said. Sam chuckled faintly. "That's how people are, Mama. Fear makes them blind until they see the truth." Mama Joy nodded. "And what will you do now?" Sam looked toward the river, its surface gleaming under the moonlight. "I'll keep listening," he said. "Lena's voice still speaks through the water. Maybe one day, she'll return in a form I can hold again." The little snake lifted its head, hissing softly as if agreeing. The wind carried the faint echo of Lena's song once more, a promise, a memory, and a love that refused to die. Word of what happened in Oromie spread far and wide. People from neighboring villages came to see Sam and the white snake that healed the chief's son. Some came with gifts of yam and palm oil, others with sick relatives hoping for miracles. The riverbank soon became a sacred place. Every morning, women knelt by the water to pray, children fetched water with reverence, and men poured libations to thank the river goddess. Sam became known as the man of the river. But fame brought unease to his heart. He had never wanted to be worshipped, only to remember Lena. One evening, as the sun melted into gold over the water, Mama Joy said, "Be careful, my son. When blessings turn to power, men begin to change." Sam nodded quietly. "I will never sell the river's gift." But the world was already watching, and not everyone came with pure intentions. A few weeks later, a tall, smooth-talking stranger arrived in Oromie. He introduced himself as Mr. Ade, a trader from the city. He wore fine clothes and shoes that glistened in the sun. "I heard stories about your river," he said, smiling widely. "They say it can heal and bless. I want to help you share it with the world." Sam looked at him curiously. "The river's blessings are not for sale," he replied calmly. Mr. Ade laughed softly. "Everything has a price, my friend. Imagine if we bottled the water and sold it in the city. You'd be rich beyond measure." Sam frowned. "The river is not mine to sell. It belongs to the goddess." Mr. Ade's smile faded slightly, though he kept his tone polite. "Think about it. I'll return tomorrow." As he walked away, Mama Joy whispered, "That man's heart smells of greed." Sam nodded. "And greed is what destroys blessings." The next day, when Sam went to the river, he noticed something strange. The water was darker than usual, the air heavy and still. The white snake hissed softly, sensing danger. "What's wrong?" Sam murmured. Suddenly, he saw footprints leading into the water, fresh ones. His chest tightened. He ran along the bank and found Mr. Ade crouched by the rocks, filling a calabash with river water. "Stop!" Sam shouted. Mr. Ade turned, startled. "You don't understand," he said quickly. "I just want to take a little to test its power." Sam's eyes hardened. "The river is alive. You cannot take what belongs to the spirit." But before he could reach him, the water began to churn violently. Waves rose, and a low rumbling echoed across the bank. Mr. Ade stumbled backward, dropping the calabash. A blinding flash of light shot from the water, and for a moment, the figure of the river goddess appeared, her eyes fierce as lightning. "Greedy man," she thundered. "You touch what you do not respect." The villagers, hearing the noise, came running. They watched in horror as the goddess's light surrounded Mr. Ade. He screamed and fell to his knees. When the light faded, he was lying on the ground, motionless but alive, his once handsome face now covered in scaly marks. "Let this be a warning," the goddess's voice echoed through the air. "The river gives only to those who come with pure hearts." The people fell to their knees, crying out prayers. Sam stood trembling, the snake still coiled tightly around his wrist. Mama Joy pulled him close and whispered, "The goddess protects you, my son. But her power is not to be tested again." Sam nodded, his eyes on the rippling water. "She protects the memory of Lena. I must keep her peace." As they carried Mr. Ade away, the villagers knew that the river was not just sacred, it was watching. From that day, no one dared approach the river without Sam's permission. They built a small shrine by the bank, where people left offerings of flowers, fruits, and cowries. Sam became the keeper of the shrine, watching over it as if it were Lena's resting place. But deep in his heart, he knew this peace would not last. The river had power, and power always attracted darkness. One night, as he slept, Lena came to him again in a dream. She stood by the river, her eyes sad but kind. "Sam," she said, "you must protect the balance. The river's gift is sacred, but many will come to take it. When they do, remember love, not fear." Sam reached out to her, but she faded like mist. He woke up sweating, the snake coiled tightly beside him, glowing faintly under the moonlight. He knew the next storm was coming, and it would test not just his love, but his faith. Months passed after the river goddess punished Mr. Ade, and Orami village returned to calm, but not everyone was at peace. The more Sam's farm flourished, the more envy grew among the people. Some whispered that he was no longer a man, that his powers came from the underworld. Others claimed he controlled the river spirit through dark charms. Even those who once came to him for healing began to watch him with fear in their eyes. Mama Joy noticed it too. "They are beginning to forget what the river taught them," she said sadly one evening. Sam sighed. People always forget blessings when envy blinds them. But there was one man whose envy burned hotter than the rest, Tommy. Once Sam's closest friend, he now watched from a distance, his heart full of jealousy. He couldn't understand why the gods had chosen Sam, the quiet farmer, instead of him. "Why him?" Tommy often muttered under his breath. "He was just a poor man like me." One night, Tommy went to the local palm wine bar and sat with some elders who loved gossip more than wisdom. "You all praise Sam like he's a god," Tommy said bitterly. "But what if I told you he is not blessed, he's bewitched?" The old men laughed at first, but Tommy leaned closer, his tone sharp. "That snake in his house? It's no spirit of love. It's a demon." The laughter faded, replaced by murmurs of unease. "If what you say is true," one of them said, "then the village is in danger." Tommy nodded quickly. "Yes. We must act before it's too late. He's using the river to control us." By the next morning, his words had spread like wildfire. Everywhere Sam went, people avoided him. Children ran inside when he passed. Even the women who once brought him food stopped visiting. Mama Joy saw the change and shook her head. "Jealousy turns brothers into strangers," she murmured. That evening, a group of villagers led by Tommy came to Sam's hut. They held torches and sticks, their faces hard with anger. Sam stepped outside calmly, the white snake curled around his wrist. "What do you want?" he asked. Tommy pointed at him. "We want the truth. What are you hiding in that snake? You've bewitched our land." Sam's face fell, not with fear but sorrow. "Have I not helped you? Have I not shared my crops, healed your sick, and prayed for your children?" The crowd murmured uneasily, but Tommy's voice cut through. "You tricked us all. That snake should be burned, and you should leave this village before the river curses us again." Mama Joy pushed through the crowd, standing between them and Sam. "You fools," she shouted. "The river gave us life. Don't destroy what you don't understand." But Tommy grabbed a torch and raised it. "Then let the goddess show herself," he yelled. "If he's truly blessed, she will protect him." The sky darkened suddenly, thunder rumbling across the horizon. The villagers froze as a strong wind whipped through the trees. The torches flickered wildly. Sam looked up and whispered, "Lena, if ever I needed you, it's now." The white snake lifted its head, glowing brighter and brighter until the light became blinding. The villagers dropped their torches and fell to the ground. A deep voice rolled through the air, shaking the earth beneath their feet. "You dare raise fire against the river's gift?" It was the river goddess. Her figure rose above the water, her eyes blazing like the sun. Tommy tried to run, but the ground trembled, sending him to his knees. "Mercy," he cried. The goddess's voice softened slightly. "You let jealousy blind you, child of man. Learn from your foolishness." She waved her hand, and the wind died instantly. The snake's glow dimmed, and silence fell once more. When the villagers opened their eyes, Tommy was lying still on the ground, breathing but weak. The torches had gone out, leaving only moonlight to illuminate the shaken crowd. Sam looked around, his face calm but weary. "Let this be the last time you lift your hands against the river," he said quietly. "Lena's love protects this land, but she will not tolerate hate." The villagers bowed their heads in shame. Mama Joy took Sam's hand. "You've suffered much, my son," she whispered. "But even pain can be a blessing." Sam smiled faintly. Maybe love is the only magic that never fades. The people began to disperse, humbled and silent. Only Sam remained by the river, watching the water glisten in the moonlight. He could still hear Lena's voice, soft and distant, "Hold on, Sam. The story isn't over." And though he didn't fully understand her words, he knew something greater was coming, something that would test the limits of love and forgiveness once again. Days turned into weeks after the night of the storm, and the village of Oremy slowly returned to peace. The people now treated Sam with respect and fear, calling him the keeper of the river. Yet Sam felt no joy in the title. He had lost Lena, the only woman who made him feel whole, and though her love lingered in the wind and water, he longed to see her face again. Every evening, he would walk to the riverbank with the white snake resting quietly on his shoulder. Sometimes he talked aloud, telling stories of his day as if she were there listening. Mama Joy often watched from afar, her eyes full of pride and sadness. "Love that survives death is love the gods themselves envy," she once said softly. But one moonless night, something strange happened. The river, calm for months, began to stir. The air grew heavy, and the snake hissed softly, as though warning him. The water glowed faintly, and a shape began to rise from its depths. Sam took a step back, shielding his eyes as the light grew brighter. Then he saw her, Lena. But she was not the same. Her hair floated like silver threads, and her eyes shone brighter than the stars. "Lena," Sam breathed, falling to his knees. She smiled gently. "You have kept my memory alive, Sam. Because of your love, the river's curse has been broken." He stared at her, tears spilling down his face. "Does that mean you can stay?" She shook her head slowly. "Not yet. But I have come to offer you a choice. The goddess is pleased with your faith. You may remain here as guardian of the river, or join me in her world beyond the waters." Sam froze. The choice pierced him deeply. To stay meant life among men, to leave meant eternal peace with Lena. Mama Joy, hearing the noise, ran to the river and saw the glowing figure. She gasped and fell to her knees. "It's her," she cried. The villagers, drawn by the light, came running too. They saw Lena standing above the water, her beauty divine. The river goddess's voice echoed across the sky. "This man's love has cleansed what hate had stained. His heart has honored the river more than any offering." Sam looked around at his people, faces filled with awe and tears. "I love my home," he said softly, "but I cannot live a day longer without her." He turned back to Lena. "Take me with you." Mama Joy wept openly. "My son, your love is stronger than any curse." Lena reached out her hand. "Then come, Sam. The river waits for us." He stepped forward, the white snake still coiled on his arm. As his feet touched the water, it shimmered like glass. The people gasped as his body began to glow, merging with Lena's light. The snake lifted its head one last time and vanished into the mist. The goddess's voice filled the air once more. "Love that defies fear shall never die." Then, with a flash of light, they were gone. The river stilled again, calm and deep, reflecting the moon like a mirror. For a long moment, no one moved. Mama Joy finally whispered, "He found her at last." The villagers bowed their heads in reverence, the sound of the water whispering like a lullaby. From that day, no one spoke of the curse again, only of the love that became legend. Years later, children still played by the river, singing songs about Sam and Lena, the man who loved beyond life, and the woman who became one with the river. The white snake was never seen again, but sometimes, on nights when the moon was full, the water would glow softly, and the wind would carry a faint song. The elders said it was Lena's voice, still calling Sam's name. Others believed it was the river blessing those who loved with pure hearts. Mama Joy grew old, her hair turning white as snow, but every evening she came to the riverbank, smiling at the shimmering water. "You kept your promise, my son," she would say softly. And when she finally joined the ancestors, the villagers buried her beside the river, so her spirit could rest near the love story she had witnessed. Generations passed, and Oromie became known as the village of the river lovers. Travelers came from distant lands to see the sacred waters and hear the tale of the woman who was a snake and the man who loved her still. Some came seeking miracles, others came seeking wisdom. But the old storytellers always ended the tale the same way: the river does not curse or bless, it only mirrors the heart that drinks from it. And when the sun set over Oromie, painting the water gold, you could still feel the spirit of Sam and Lena in the breeze, two souls bound forever by love, the kind that even the gods could not break. My people, that is where today's story ends. But every ending carries the whisper of another beginning. If this tale touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell, so you'll be here when the next story calls your name. Tell me in the comments what you learned from today's tale, where in the world you're watching from, and let me know if you want a continuation of this story. Until we meet again, may your path be bright, your heart be kind, and your story forever beautiful.